This is crazy. Hey guys, Jordan Hardison, CEO of AIO.Church. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for jumping in. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel for more. Man, I'm going to jump in today with what is going on with Claude, Mythos, and Claude Fable. This is crazy, and I can't wait to talk about it. In this video, if you're new here, there's a few things that I'm going to talk about. Number one is AI news, what's going on at the surface in the news with AI right now. The next segment of the video is going to be talking about how AI is being used right now, how it's changing the workplace. This one, it's going to be different today, and I really encourage you to dive in and dig into that second segment of the video. I think there's a lot of good discussion to be had. And then the third segment of the video, I want to show you a little bit about what we are working on with AIO right now and some of the changes that have happened in the software since the last video. But I'll tell you what, like starting off, man, this is crazy. I am not much of a clickbait kind of person. I mean, maybe a little bit like the rest of us, but I'm not much of a clickbait kind of person. I expect every model to come out to be better than the last, except for Opus 4.7, that one sucked, but we already talked about that. Every model that comes out, I expect it to be better. So I obviously expected Fable to be better than what we were getting with Opus 4.8. But what is surprising to me is how much better it actually is. This is not a small step in AI. This is a massive, massive leap in AI. I mean, it is transformative. It's crazy to see what it's doing. I have been using Fable 5 since it dropped as much as humanly possible to see what this thing is capable of, and burning through tokens, and what it's able to do is blowing my mind. The first thing is the way I like to communicate with AI while coding is like it's a person. Think about it. The AI is trained to act like a person. So talking to it like a person has been really beneficial for me. It's been useful for me. But with Fable 5, it really does an excellent job understanding in plain language what you want to accomplish and then going and getting it done. I just saw an X or tweet or whatever it's called from Alex Finn the other day. He made a great point with this, and he says that, with Fable 5, it's less about being concerned about the AI making a mistake in the code and more about making sure that it knows what you want it to do, and so that you're using your tokens in an effective and productive way. And I agree with that completely. I mean, I am using this and probably maybe I shouldn't say this, maybe I should encourage people to do this, but I'm using this and even just a complete no permission mode, do whatever you want, because it is so good at doing it correctly. It's not going to go off and do something crazy. I mean, it really is doing an excellent job. This model is unlike any other model, and it's creating a wave even within our company, because it's becoming difficult for us to quote projects to clients. We don't know how long it's going to take to complete a project because we don't know how rapid the technology is going to develop. It's absolutely insane. Let's jump into the benchmarks real quick. I'm going to pull them up. I'm going to show them to you right now so that you can see this. With agentic coding, SWE Bench Pro, 80.3% with Fable 5. This is the public version of Mythos, 80.3% compared to Opus 4.8, which was 69.2. Opus 4.8, when it came out, which was like, a week ago, it was incredible. I mean, a massive, massive improvement in AI coding capability. It was incredible. It was my daily driver, still is my daily driver, other than this period of time right now when I'm using Fable. Fable at 80.3. This is not a small jump. This is a significant improvement in capability. Benchmarks are interesting, but benchmarks don't tell the whole story. And that's what I'm going to get into later on in the video. But let's just keep looking at this. Agentic coding, 29.3%. I mean, massive, massive change, even from the 13.4% with Opus 4.8. Knowledge work, man, this stuff is looking great. Some of these other ones that stand out to me, one of them is biology, right? Biology, 46.1% compared to Opus 4.8 at 40%. And then looking at 83.9% from human solved. One of the things that excites me about AI and development of AI is how AI is going to be able to be used in the medical field to create new medications, new treatments, and cure diseases. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what this thing can do. Agentic coding on Terminal Bench, 88% versus 82.7%. Cybersecurity, 78% versus 40% with Opus 4.8. Massive, massive change there. I mean, this model is absolutely incredible, and it gets me excited to see what is next. Now, it is definitely token hungry, and it's very expensive. It is double the cost of Opus 4.8, and what Anthropic is saying right now is that they are going to stop usage of Fable 5 on the different subscriptions on June 23rd. I'm very interested to see if that's actually going to happen. Is this a marketing thing? I'm sure that compute is a limitation. Let me know what you think about that. Put that in the comments. I'd like for them to keep it there, and I'm hoping that it's going to scale in a rapid way, not just in hardware for compute, but also in efficiency. So as people use the model, maybe the model can become more efficient. They can use that to make the model more efficient. I mean, we are very, very soon going to be living in a world where models like Fable 5 is going to be just as accessible as Sonnet 4.6. It's coming. It's there. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And then I'm really curious to see when other AI labs are going to come out with open weight models that start nearing this capability. I mean, even if you don't get all the way to the frontier level of that 80.3% with Fable 5, I'm really curious to see how close we get to that with open weight models. That's a crazy world coming. But this really has created a change and a shift, even in the last 24 hours, of how we're able to use AI coding. So if you've not tried Anthropic's Fable 5 yet, I highly, highly recommend you give it a try. Do it now while you still can on the subscription, because it is going to get extremely expensive with the API moving forward. Now, the other thing I'm very interested about is ChatGPT. And I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. The model, GPT 5.5. I did what everyone else does. I'm really interested because I use GPT 5.5 a lot, and I use it primarily because the rate limits are much, much better with their accounts. And I'm curious about GPT 5.6. I want to know, is GPT 5.6 going to be a competitor of Opus 4.8, or is it going to be shooting for a Mythos competitor model? I have seen both rumors. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. Let me know what you think. Is GPT 5.6 going to be more like Mythos, or is it going to be more like Opus 4.8? I'm certainly hoping it's going to be more like Fable 5. But man, I just totally blown away by this model. One of the things is, I don't go in and I don't do reviews of the model where I pull up and let it do certain things for you. There's plenty of videos on YouTube where you can see that happen. But I'm telling you, from an enterprise grade user, this model is absolutely incredible, and you have to check it out. Now I want to get into the next segment of the video where I talk about, some of the frustrations that I'm experiencing in this shift with AI. So one of the things about this is that I am living through a time, like you are, where we are seeing technology completely and totally shift an entire industry. So this has happened in the past, maybe even not so much as it's happened now, but this has certainly happened in the past, but it's not happened within my lifetime. And it's interesting to see how different people are reacting to it. My mission and my goal is to help people through this transaction, to show people how I am handling this transaction. What am I doing from the perspective of not only a pastor, so in the ministry space, but also a CEO, entrepreneur, a business owner, and someone who actually, prior to this AI revolution, was not a coder myself. And so prior to this, I've always been interested in code, but to actually sit down and write code line by line, it is not within my skill set and had not been within my skill set. But I got into software development as an owner and as an ideator, in which I hired and actually managed an entire development team of both senior and junior developers. And, we worked on a product, this AIO platform, for many years before the AI revolution really became a thing. And so I want to talk about it from that perspective. I want to talk about it from the perspective of a professional, from the perspective of a business owner, from the perspective of somebody who has seen this happen in real time and now actually doing a lot of hands-on development myself, but without that, real coding skill back end, and to see how this is completely transforming. And my goal through this is to be able to actually encourage those that are writing out this transition with us. I mean, I feel for developers right now. I feel for people who went to work every single day as a developer, writing code line by line because your life is changing and it's changing extremely fast. Now, one of the ways that I believe that we can really have a real conversation about this topic is to look at specific examples, not just talk about open-ended what's going on, but actually look at specific examples. So I'm going to do something here, and I'm going to pull up a thread from a conversation I had with an individual the other day. Now, I will be real with you, this thread was not necessarily a pleasant conversation, and there was a lot of sparring back and forth going on. There was a lot of debate going on, but there's some real meat and good conversation happening here. And it started with this concept of AI slop. I can't stand the term AI slop. I don't like it. It's being used so generically, and we see this. It's almost like the cancel culture movement that was happening in politics, right? It's this. I'm just going to throw this label on anything that AI produces. Anybody that writes anything or does anything with AI, I'm just going to call it AI slop, and it's just going to totally degrade what the product is, and I'm gonna classify it as worthless with one term, AI slop, arbitrarily just because. And this is what this thread is about. And let's jump into it. I'm going to show it to you. So going in here, of course, we've removed any kind of names. We've blurred out some things. This may not be exactly word for word how this conversation went down, but this is going to give you an idea of what it was. I start the conversation, I'm user 2 in this scenario. I start the conversation with, what exactly is AI slop? I can't stand the term. Do you just mean it's produced without proper distribution channels and planning? What do we mean by AI slop? We have to identify this to have the conversation. User 2 responds, AI slop is something created without any plan or thought or knowledge on the subject. I'm down with this. Like, I can get behind this concept, right? There is a lot of people that are not thinking, they're not planning, no thought is going into it, no knowledge. They're just like, hey, AI, make me an app that will make me money. Now, if they can make an app that makes them money by telling AI to do that, more power to them. Great, go out and do it. I'm not saying not to do it, but I'm saying that I can understand the viewpoint of AI slop being somebody going in and doing something with AI when they have no idea what they're doing at all. Great. Basically, if you created a website with AI, but don't even understand that it needs served data from a backend, then it's AI slop. Okay, I can even understand this argument. You have to have a basic, if you want to build something that's really useful and productive, you need a baseline understanding of what you're doing. And from this perspective, I'm all in, I'm on board, I get it. I agree. I agree with people learning by doing. I think that's the most effective way to learn. And so eventually, as you use AI, if you know nothing about AI at all and you use AI to increase productivity, if you use AI in development, eventually you are going to realize and come to the conclusion that you are going to have a backend and you're going to have, some sort of database. Okay. The next statement is what really got me, right? If you couldn't write code before AI, it's slop. I completely and totally disagree with this. And I come in peace with this disagreement. I come from a position of wanting to encourage. I come from a position of wanting to see more people step into this space. I want to see experienced senior developers that were doing a great job writing amazing software grow with this transition. And so that's why I want to unpack this idea of if you couldn't write code before AI, it's slop. Totally and completely disagree. AI has the ability to do incredible things for your business. AI has the ability to do incredible things for your overall productivity in life. AI has the ability to do incredible things for your ministry. And just because AI is helping you learn and transition into a new field does not mean that what you are able to produce with it is worthless. And this is the mistake that I think that developers are making in this AI transition, right? One of the things that is interesting to me, so I love Tesla. I've always wanted a Tesla. For a very long time, I wanted a Tesla, and I finally got into a life position where I could get a Tesla, and it made a lot of financial sense to do so. But one of the things that I do with my Tesla that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, even people who have Teslas, is this concept of micro learning. So I always want to learn something new. I want to expand my knowledge. I want to expand what I'm able to do. And when they added Grok to the Tesla, now instead of just listening to music or instead of just driving mindlessly, I can have a conversation with Grok, which is able to teach me about almost any subject that I want to learn about while I'm driving down the road. And so I want to talk about a gap that is happening, right? And sure, one could argue that some parts of the gap is based on resource and availability to resource. I understand that. That's not part of the discussion. I totally and completely value that, and I understand that perspective from the conversation. But there are people, AI in some form is accessible to so many different people, but they are refusing to use it or they're choosing not to use it. And the thing about it is the gap that's forming is not just forming because of the, ability for the AI to take jobs and to do things what other people can't do, but some people are choosing to drive down the road and use AI for micro-learning while they're driving down the road, and some people are choosing not to, and that's okay. But that is creating a gap. That is creating a gap, and that is the gap that I want to talk about, because you can respond to that gap in a lot of different ways. One of the ways that I see professional developers responding to that gap is by talking poorly about the technology. I think this is a bad angle. I think that this is an angle that's not going to be productive. This is an angle that's not going to help, right? It's like all of a sudden AI can do what it took me years and years and years and years to learn how to do. If your response to that is by just saying that anything that the AI does is garbage, that is not going to help you bridge that gap. And this is kind of what's got me frustrated. So as I look at my response on this, it to me, it comes off as a developer who is threatened by AI. And I completely understand the idea of being threatened by technology that's able to do what it took you years to learn how to do. The reality is, as I put here, it's very possible to create with AI, starting with a plan, even if you don't know how to write code by hand prior to AI. I'm going to give you a really silly example to this. Like, you may be a developer, and just because you don't know how to write binary does not mean that you can't develop an excellent product. That's why they have Python. Do you get my point, developer? Like, hear me when I tell you this. Like, that's what we're seeing here. So instead of using Python, which is going to be compiled to binary, just because you don't know how to write in binary does not mean that you cannot build an excellent product that's going to be compiled down to binary anyway. The difference is now you are prompting an AI to do it. It's like a new coding language. Think about it like that. Here's what I say. The frustrating irony is this, in this ideology, is that I have fired an entire team. This is getting me fired up, man. And I'm being real here. I fired an entire team of developers because of their inability to adapt and arrogance to think that they couldn't be replaced. They didn't get replaced by AI. They got replaced by people less arrogant. When I built my dev team years ago, I had zero coding experience, yet built several enterprise-grade products making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, here's the thing. It used to be you had an ideator, right? You had the person with the idea, and then a lot of time you had a business management team, and then you had the actual developers who were writing the code, right? The problem is, as the technology became available, as the gap began to widen, people who were more than capable of stepping in and bridging that gap refused to, because they took the perspective of the only way for me to survive in this transformation is to deny that it's happening and to talk bad about anything that it can produce. This is what I saw happen in real time. And then I say this, right? This is a little bit fiery. The arrogance of the developers became a real problem when they forgot that their ability to write the code line by line was one piece to a very complex puzzle of running a successful business. When I was able to deliver better, less buggy, more secure code than senior developers, the business decision became clear. So what I'm trying to say here, and what I think is important in this discussion, is that in order to get to the finish line of success, whatever that looks like for you, it is more than just hyper-focus on one specific element, right? If you want to build a product that is used by thousands or millions of people, It is more than just being able to write good code line by line. There's distribution channels. There's the actual idea. There's the business end of developing, marketing, and running that product. And so one of the revolutions that I've gone through recently in my life is I've always been a person who is very, very focused on doing the best you can, which I think is great, but very focused on the nuance of this has to be perfect. And until this is perfect, nothing else can happen. And the problem with that is that that does not scale to something that's actually usable. I'll give you an example in my capacity right now as a pastor, right? I'm also a trained A1 audio engineer. And so I would sit at front of house and I would mix and I would spend huge amounts of time working on a snare drum, making that snare drum as good as it possibly can sound. Man, I just love exactly what it sounds like, dealing with different EQs, dealing with different compressors, and burning all of my sound check time making that snare drum sound good. But the problem is the clock was still ticking. And at the end of the day, I only had so much time for sound check. And if I spend so much time in making that snare drum sound as good as it possibly can, then when it comes time for the sound check to be over, I do not have a good sounding mix. I've got a great sounding snare drum, but I don't have a good sounding mix. Now that I'm a pastor, it's even more because I can't just focus on how great the music sounds. I have to look at, are people being fed? Are people growing from the experience that they are having? Are people hearing the word of God? Are people hearing and engaging with the worship? It's more than just one hyper-focused element. And what I'm suggesting to you is whatever your capacity is as an employee, maybe you're a business owner and this could help you as well. But if you are an employee, whether you are a developer or you are a sales, a representative of or whatever you are in whatever capacity you are in, if you can understand that your role is one piece to a big puzzle, and all of those pieces have to come together to create a successful product, to create a successful business, then you are going to be a lot more successful moving forward. This is the revolution that I am going through right now, that I have to look at the end goal. What is the end goal? And this is what I believe was missing in this particular season with this development team. I write here, I say, I think developers should stop deflecting, take responsibility for their own complacency, which I know hurts to hear, and recognize that every comment is a job interview. Now, this is a little bit of a throw to what's going on here, and I'll explain that too. But what I am saying here is that as this technology changed, we have to be willing to adapt with it. We can't just be reluctant to change. We have to be willing to adapt to it. And as long as you are willing to adapt to it, as long as you are willing to participate in it, then you are going to grow. Look at what problem you can solve and look at how you can grow with your company. And when you learn that you can grow with your company through adapting to change, then I believe you are going to be safe in this marketplace through this AI transition. The last comment that I put is super important to me. And I say recognize that every comment is a job interview, right? So to me as an employer, so when I go in and I look at different groups on Facebook or X or Instagram or whatever I'm looking at, I am looking at who is going to be the best team player. And at the end of the day, especially in the days of AI and especially in the days of Mythos, right? The person that is going to bring the product to the finish line is going to be the person who is the best team player, not necessarily the person who can write the best code line by line. The person who is going to be the best audio engineer to take on tour with you is not necessarily the person who can create the greatest sounding snare drum EQ. It's going to be the person who can get it done and can get it done well in a timely manner and still bring excellence forth. And so one of the things that I want to encourage you as you do this is don't take a negative approach to all of the changes that are happening. Go in and see how you can contribute to the conversation. Be a good person to work with, and you are going to survive the transition. Now, another thing, AI can produce slop. This is true. It can produce slop, and it can produce products worth billions of dollars. We're seeing this with the AI labs, but the promoter's ability to write code line by line has little to do with the result. What I mean by this is that it's more than just your ability to write code line by line. Now, the conversation gets fiery from here. He responds, he says that I should have been fired instead of the team. And the reality is that I'm the one who's arrogant because I can't write code at all. And then we get into an accusation down here where, I stole my own source code that I managed, that I paid for. And there's really not much to comment on that. But it just shows you that there's a gap. There's a gap. I mean, people are afraid. People are scared. People are in fear. Developers who have worked for years are afraid because of what's happening, because of this transition is happening. And my encouragement to you is not to act in fear. Don't just spiral into emotional discussions and conversations and start accusing the very people who may be hiring you of doing bad things. Let's lean in together and let's look at how we can grow through this transition. One of the things that I kind of want to wrap up this portion with is looking at, me saying, hey, I respect what you're saying, but, we're using big words dogmatically like never in AI slop, and we're using this to put other people down. We're using this to try to position ourselves as more knowledgeable or better in the industry. And this is a poor tactic when it comes to coming through. Now, there is a lot of strength in the conversation here. There's a lot of merit in the argument that's being made. But when we go all the way to say that it's not possible, that's where we cross the line. Now, one of the things that I want to bring up here, another thing in the conversation, is that the use of AI now allows people people who are ideators are able to get across the finish line a lot faster. And it's taking an industry and it's actually growing this industry. And there's plenty of space in this industry for growth. It's really, it's really happening. There's plenty of space for growth. We can allow growth to happen. We don't have to be afraid of growth happening, but we have to be willing to take the ride with it. So, now, I'm going to jump out of this conversation. I think my point was made in this conversation, but I'm looking at people who really are afraid of this transition. I want to know what you think about it. Like, if maybe you're an experienced developer, maybe you're afraid in this transition or you're not sure what's going to happen. Was AI producing a lot of junk 6 months ago? Yeah, it probably was. But that's stopping, and it's stopping very, very soon. This train has left the station, and you got to decide where you sit on it. I want to know what you think. Put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Now, another example that I think of in the same space is, I've got a colleague who is a very, very, very talented individual, very capable individual in their field. And in this case, they were a worship leader for many, many years and a producer for many, many years. And they were known as someone who does it better than everyone else. Really, really doing well in this space. And one thing that may be a little controversial, but something that you may not know if you're not in the ministry and in the experience, is that there are seasons in your life where you're kind of at the prime. And the question is, at what point in time are you no longer the front man anymore? What happens in this next season? Where do you go? What do you do? And this colleague of mine was facing, and I'll exaggerate a little bit, facing kind of a moment of time of crisis, because it's like, what do I do after this? What comes next for me? I think about that from a developer standpoint. What comes next for me as a developer in this time of AI? That's a real question, and it's real fear. And in this case, my colleague, I'm sure he does many different things, but for many, many years, all he did and all he knew and where his real experience was in this space. So how do I move past this? How do I interact past this space? What do I do from here? And I look at that situation and I start with point number one, which I want to share with you today. Point number one, there's a lot of wisdom in recognizing and understanding where you truly are. What do I mean by that? Man, you've been a developer for years. right? Now you're in this space where AI is changing. What do I do here? At the end of the day, you have mouths to feed. You've got to be able to make a living. And so I'm coming to you from that perspective, somebody who was not a skilled developer before, somebody who hired developers before. I'm coming, to you and I'm saying, how do we bridge that gap in conversation? Step one, recognize that what you know is this space. And you may not have experience in other areas, and that's okay to take that realization. It's okay to have that wisdom, because in having that wisdom, it stops you from being arrogant as you step into the next field that you are about to step into, or as you step into the next season. The fact, and I'm gonna be fiery real quick when it comes to developers, the concern about you losing your job is going to come from being a jerk online to people and being arrogant. That is what is going to stop you from losing your job, not from the idea that AI is going to come in and take it all. I mean, that's a hot take, but it's just real. And so by being a person, by having a discussion, by recognizing the current situation, that is step one to knowing how to get through this shift in AI. This is true in the church. This is true in the workplace. This is true in development. This is true all over the place. Now, the second thing is really unpacking the reality of that situation. Let's go back to my colleague, right? So maybe they have all of their experience in music. Maybe they have all of their experience in worship leading, but you know what they also do while they're doing that is they manage a team. And they manage a team of people who are notoriously not very easy to manage, and that is creatives. So the skill is not just in the industry that you're in, but you're actually proven year after year after year your ability to build a very, very, very strong and capable team. That is an important skill to identify. That is an important skill to look like. It takes a lot of organizational management in order to be a worship leader and to grow that skill. It takes a ton of organizational management. That is a skill that is going to help you in the next season and the next step of your life. And so looking at that and seeing, hey, you may not know much about the next industry or the next season that you're going to step in, but you come with a tool belt that is loaded with every single piece that you are going to need to be successful in that next industry. So to say that you have it all and you know it all, that's arrogant. But to recognize this is what I have, but I also have this tool belt, and I'm going to walk into this season with this tool belt on. I think that's really important. As a developer, I said this to my team, a year ago. As a developer, they should be some of the best AI vibe coders in the world, because they're able to see what the AI is doing. They're able to understand what it's doing. They're able to manipulate it and tell it what it should do appropriately. But instead of capitalizing on that opportunity, what happens is we allow fear to set in, and we get stuck. And that getting stuck is what is going to create a dangerous situation through this transition moving forward. So my encouragement to you, do not be afraid. Don't get stuck. Know that you have this massive tool belt moving forward. And if you use that and you have a positive attitude and you're a great person to work with, you are going to make it through this season. Now, I'm really interested to know what you think about that. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Put it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, like the channel. I want to have a conversation with you about, hey, come on the channel, have a conversation with me about it. Let's talk about it. Now, the next section of the video that I want to move into is what we are doing with AIO. And what interests me in this next section is, and it kind of goes along with that AI Slop conversation, because one of the things that people are fascinated by, and I think it is fascinating, but I do recognize it is very different than a fully planned out project. And that is the AI's ability to one-shot a project. What does that mean? If you're not familiar, you can tell the AI, hey, I want an app that does XYZ. It creates the entire app in one prompt, right? That is cool. That's impressive. But I want to show you kind of a difference between that and what AI is really capable of. For some perspective, I have been using AI in development along with a development team for over a year now, consistently every single day. And I would say probably averaging between 10 and 14 hours per day using AI every single day. While I'm using AI to code, I'm not just using one thread, but I'm using many, many different threads at the same time. I'm using an AI orchestrator that's orchestrating all of those threads at the same time. So the overall collective usage of AI is well over 100,000 hours coding with AI. Now, I bring that up because there is a huge, huge difference, and this is that concept that I was talking about. There's a huge difference between something that is one-shotted with AI and a product that has 100,000 AI hours working on it. From that perspective alone, the logic alone shows that clearly there is a difference between a product that was one-shotted and a product that has 100,000 hours of AI on it. The amazing thing is that AI can do incredible things. My question is, how much effort are you putting into it in order to get the product that you want at the end of the day? With AIO, I want to show you a little bit about where we are at. This is a product that if you want to know what does it look like, and I say that because looks are even subjective. What the UI is, what the colors are, all of that is subjective. We're talking about usability. We're talking about what solves problems, what brings value to people. So if you want to know what does 100,000 plus hours of AI usage to bring value looks like, this is a real life example. This is the AIO platform. What I want to say just for YouTube purposes is that none of the content that you see in this video is real. These are not real people. These are not real numbers. These are not real email addresses. I just want to get that out of the way just in case anything pops up here. But what I want to show you in this is that you can produce some excellent, excellent products with the use of AI. One of the pages that I have open right now is this is our productivity feature within this operating system that we've created, this web-based operating system we've created. Now, the first thing is that AIO is developed to be a church management software first. Now, the software actually works excellent for corporations as well. That's why we have AIO Corp. This is the church version of the software that we're showing here. How did this software come from an ideation standpoint? Step one was, what problem do I face as a leader in the ministry every single day that I don't want to face anymore? Whatever that problem is, that is what has been focused on in the development of this product. This is our Workspace feature within the product right now. And this allows an office-style workspace where everyone can come together. It shows that they're online. You can jump into meetings right away. Because one of the things that gets difficult, especially with any kind of remote work, is quick communication, questions, barriers that stop the development from happening, barriers that stop tasks from getting done. This allows you to actually go in, see who is online. You can walk into their office directly, virtually, and have a video meeting with them immediately. Or we have a knock feature where you can go in, they can knock and you can accept it. You can jump in, you can have the discussion, you can chat. You have a time clock where you can track exactly how much time is being spent in the virtual office, as well as a task management list of what task am I working on and how much time is being spent on each individual task. And so this is a real world problem that came together, and it was like, hey, we can use this software to expand that and solve that problem for different corporations in different ministries, and this is how we do it. There's a couple things I want to show you that is in here as well. You know, one of the things that's important with AI is that the more context the AI has about your organization, the better it's going to be at actually helping you. That's what takes AI from a gimmick, like writing an email for you, to actually being something that's proactive and productive and able to help you with your day-to-day tasks. So with that being said, one of the challenges that we have in this particular space is also when it comes to the storage of different content. And so what we have done here is we have actually created AIO Cloud, and this is a centralized storage space like a Google Drive, like a Dropbox, where we can come in here and we can actually store all of our files. And every time we store a file, the AI is going to analyze that file on the spot, write the metadata for it, so that later on you can reference those files and it's already familiar with it. So this is a piece of this entire software built together. It's a cohesiveness. It's a system that eliminates the desire or the need to switch from application to application in order to increase efficiency and reduce problems in the workspace. So this is just one example. Another example that we have and can show here is through Connect. And so we want to be able to engage with people online through X, through social media, through LinkedIn. And what we've been able to do is we've been able to add that functionality as a separate app inside of our operating system all together here. Now, some people are really, really fascinated with like OpenClaw or Hermes Agent. Think about OpenClaw on steroids or Hermes Agent on steroids. This is what this is it allows this almost AGI concept to come together where anything that a person could do, the AI is able to step in and help you and save time and efficiency in doing. And so by adding all of these different applications into this one giant application, it gives the AI reach to be able to go in and do these different things for you, like create different posts on social media. Another example is we have our AI agent, which is Ray. Redefine AI is what it stands for. And this is our command center where we can go in and we can see what tasks it's working on. We can set up automation so it can wake up on its own and continue or go through a task. In this, we also have Heartbeat, where we can go in and we can set up proactive AI, where it's going in and it's looking at different events that are coming up on a calendar and saying, hey, you do this every week at this time, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to help you do this, or I'm going to help prepare this for you, or whatever it is. So this is what happens when you take 100,000+ hours of AI usage and you put it into one platform. Couple things that I can show you as well as meetings. And so one of the things that's important is to be able to have communications quickly. And again, there's different meeting platforms out there for video meetings, but having it in our own platform gives the AI access to that transcript, to that meeting data. It knows when the meetings are, and it gives more context together for one complete, comprehensive system. And so that's a little bit about AIO. I'm going to talk about AIO more throughout these videos coming forward. If you want to see more of the software, you want to see how it works, throw it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I can't wait to talk with you next week. Let's dive into this conversation about the transition of AI. What is AI Slop? What is not AI Slop? And how do developers and professionals handle this transition moving forward? Let me know in the comments. Talk to you in the next video.